Welcome back
Well,
again.
welcome for the first time.
Yes, I am Vati.
I'm Meeks.
Uh,
Hello.
this is our scary stories.
Hi,
Basically,
spooky
once a
time.
week we get together and we each pick a short horror story by a sometimes small time author, sometimes big time author. Mostly from the No Sleep Reddit, I'm going to be honest. And we each pick a story. We don't know what the other one is reading, and we read them to each other. And you get to listen with us. Yeah,
Yep, that's pretty
that's about
spot
it.
on. Uh-huh. I want more people to submit stories. I'm not
Yes,
gonna
please.
lie. I want to see some spooky, scary, creepy things from our audience.
True stories too, even.
I
Just
know.
saying.
Those are sometimes the most horrifying.
Yes, I will say if you submit your own story, it does have to be like a decently long story because I have had a couple of emails where they were like two sentences, and I was like, well,
Two sentences? I
two
mean,
sentences.
yeah.
But
Sometimes
I
when I'm
appreciate
looking,
it, but
sometimes when I'm looking for stories, I get like caught on those on Reddit, and like those like two sentence horror stories will like I don't know. Some of them are pretty scary. Maybe we'll make like a compilation video one night.
yes, yes.
hmm Oh, we canonically film at night for the spooky ambiance.
It is currently
hmm
3:30 in the morning.
We do stay up very late.
All right, I think you said you were going to be starting tonight.
I will be. I will be.
All right, well, don't make my mistake and get the author wrong.
No, I got this.
All right. I'm
Okay.
ready. I'm in. I'm locked
All
in. Let's
right.
go.
You're locked in.
I'm
All right.
locked
Well,
in.
I
Let's
will
go.
be starting with a short story from Random Appellation 468. The story is titled The Fifth Voice, and I hope everyone enjoys. I'm writing this because I know I won't make it. I can hear them even now, screaming, shrieking, wailing, faintly on the wind as it claws through the icy trees. They are always near and yet just out of sight, waiting until I turn to hide so that I can catch mere glimpses of shapes. Distant faces peering around rocks or trees, outlines of bodies upright and two-legged, standing crooked among the undergrowth, flashes of color, hair, or movement. They don't leave tracks, or if they do, I haven't found their trails yet. I've been stumbling over my own footprints for hours on end, but never theirs. I'm too tired to question why they follow me, why I can't find my way out, why they sound so human. Maybe a frightened part of me doesn't want a real answer. Maybe a deeper part already knows. There are four of them. From what I can tell, two sound like young women, their voices filled with pain and fear on the frigid breeze. Another carries the tone of an old man, his cry of sadness and terror that causes my throat to close up. They move along the mountainside, calling to one another, shouting for me, always with those strange broken wails that catch me off guard every time. Help me, please. Where are you? The fourth one never screams. She sings. I say she because I've never actually seen the thing or caught a glimpse of her moving like the others. But it uses a woman's voice, richest and clearest of all. She is never frightened, pained, or sad, but calm, somber, and persistent, as a mother might hum a lullaby to her infant. While the first three voices waver at the end of each syllable, frayed, warped, and distorted like a bad recording on vinyl, the fourth grows only stronger the further I go into this frozen labyrinth. When the other three fall silent, usually when I've made too much noise, moved too fast, or in the beginning when I foolishly shouted back, the fourth will raise her voice from the darkness and fill the space between the trees with wordless, silken intonation. She never uses words, just a haunting melody that flows and ebbs in scattered reverberations, so that I can never pinpoint exactly where she is. Sometimes it sounds like she's far away, other times so close that I think I can almost hear the sound of feet in the snow as they pace slowly through the forest. The others may try to scream over one another, call to each other as if frantic in their search for me, but they never challenge the fourth one. I'm not sure at this point that she isn't the one making all four voices herself, though it makes my skin crawl to think so. Nothing could move that fast, cover so much distance, be in multiple places at once, or perfectly mimic so many different voices. Nothing I know of, anyway. The only reason I know that the fourth is close is the smell, which is strong even when blowing in the wind of northern mountains. Roses, an overpowering, fermenting stench, like the interior of a greenhouse left to boil under the heat of midsummer. Wet soil and old roots, sweet decay and stale blossoms, they permeate the air every time my unseen foe gets too close. I run whenever the smell rises, not visible in any sort of cloud or plume, but too strong to ignore. Always they chase me. The four voices in the cold, feet crushing the ice and snow, a mixture of crunches and wet slaps that tell me they wear no shoes. No shoes and no tracks, yet they close in all the same. Hours have passed, and I don't know where I am anymore. I used to hike this mountain often, came here to hunt, to camp, to think in refreshing silence only the wilderness can afford. It isn't hard to get off the mountain. You simply follow the slope downward and let creeks or rivers lead you to civilization. From the west and southern slopes, I remember being able to see a town in the valley below, a dozen or so miles distant at most. Yet, no matter where I go, the voices follow, hounding me, corralling me, boxing me in. I lost the North Slope a long time ago. It must be somewhere in the southeast now, not far from the summit. Every time I move, every time I change direction, they know and draw closer with recycled shrieks that no longer sound so pitiful to me. They aren't afraid, hurt, or sad. They're excited. It's the blood that draws them. I know it. I didn't see the fallen log on one of my mad dashes to escape and tumbled into a narrow ravine. The snow covered the jagged log at the bottom, but not enough to break my fall. My left calf aches. The few bandages I had already soaked through, and every step I take leaves little droplets of crimson on the perfect white drifts. If I ever had a prayer of getting away, it's gone now. The trails have vanished, and it seems I go in circles. As the sun falls beneath the horizon, there is no light, no glow of distant mankind, no twinkle of urban safety. Once I thought I had spotted a large stone house in a clearing downslope, but the voices cut me off before I could run to it. I've come across piles of bones, arranged in stacks bound with strange fibrous twine, each topped with a single animal skull. Rabbits, voles, turtles. They are small, the pillars only knee-high, but I glimpsed 5 similar structures around the stone house that were taller. I think one had an elk skull on it. These markers span through the forest everywhere I look, as if an enormous web binding me inside the ice-ridden tree line. I didn't notice them when I first climbed the northern slope in the morning, but here in the south, they seem to be around every bend, every tree, always watching me with those dark, hollow eye sockets of dried out bone. Sometimes, if I lean close, I think I can hear them whispering to each other. The night is coming, and with it, the last of my strength is drained. I've managed to find this narrow hole in the rocks, less a cave and more a crevice, between the mountain's tough granite skin. What little wood I dared to gather now burns at the entrance, with me huddled inside, back pressed to the frigid stone as daylight fades below the mountains. I am numb below my knees, exhausted and dizzy from pushing myself too hard. Running is out of the question, as if I could evade whatever it is that screams with human voices in the welling shadows. My old rifle sits across both legs like a loyal hound, ready to fight with me one last time, though I doubt it will halt my pursuers. I can smell the roses now, both sweet and pungent. Whispers swirl in the gloom, hands grapple at the ice, and feet skitter across stone beneath the snow. Something thin and dark moves between the pines outside in a slow, graceful stride. The screams have died away, but I know they are still out there. watching, waiting, as my fire burns low and the cold sweeps in. There are 4 voices hiding amongst the trees. Soon there will be a 5th. This message was transcribed from a note found in the southeastern face of Smoke Point Mountain during search and rescue operations for Richard Samuel Drovall, who went missing on February 6th. Signature comparison revealed it to be Richard's handwriting, and a vehicle was recovered from the trailhead parking lot. Later confirmed to be a match to Drovall's registration history. He was last seen in the northern trailhead of the Smoke Point Wildlife Zone wearing dark brown overalls, a green jacket, and a black wool cap. Richard is a 37-year-old, 5'11", 178-pound Caucasian male from Boise, Idaho. He has brown hair, brown eyes, and at the time of posting has been missing for 14 days. No other personal belongings or physical evidence have been found at this time. Local authorities from Jacobs Fork Search and Rescue, as well as the Sheriff's Department, have asked for anyone with information concerning the whereabouts of Richard to please come forward.
I would just go to sleep. I'd be like, damn. Well,
Oh no, they were.
it's been like
hunting
2
him down.
hours. It's been like 2 hours. Y'all yell. You know what? Just take me, man. I'm going to bed. Good night. Just take me
Can't
away.
deal with all that.
I was like, at first, I
screaming.
was like, okay. And then you were like, it was in the winter. And I was like, oh, yeah, no. I would just go to sleep. I'd be like, this is it. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Just go on into the cold,
No,
cold,
just
sweet
take me,
night.
man. I'm just going to go to bed.
No, what an unfortunate way to go, though.
Yep. Always bring a hiking buddy so they can
Always
die
bring
with
a
you.
hiking buddy.
Yeah, you never want to die alone, you know? Or, you sacrifice your friend. Problem solved. And you're like, here you go. All you got to do. Like I used to tell, so I work at a haunted house during this season. And my favorite thing to tell people is you don't got to be the fastest. Just don't be the slowest. And if you are the slowest, just trip your friend. Problem solved.
I'll keep that in mind.
I give great advice. Come to me for all your advice. I give it. It's free. You just have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Is it good? Depends on who you ask. But anyways. All right. I think it's my turn, yeah? I got a little bit of a longer one this time. We kind of flip-flopped from last week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my story today is going to be by Saturday. I've read quite a bit of his stuff. He's one of my favorite authors on the Reddit. So it is I Must Have Dinner at exactly 6 p.m. You ready?
I am ready.
All right, let's go. It is really bizarre to look back on your past and consider there was a time in my life was simple. I have a different life today. I would argue I'm a different person. I have to eat every night at a specifically 6 p.m. If I don't, there are consequences. That doesn't sound all that weird. People eat at 6 p.m. all the time. Some earlier, some later. I can't do that. It has to be exactly 6 p.m. And if I don't, there are consequences. You wouldn't think there'd be, but there is. And yeah, it's as unusual as it sounds. Started about a year ago. My family was taking me out to celebrate finishing my education as a dental technician. I had technically already worked in the field for some time, mostly internships, but now I had it all on paper. I was booked. I was officially done, and I could get myself a real job. I had a couple of places lined up. My mom was really excited about it. She booked my table at a pretty pricey downtown restaurant. You need to book it at least 1 or 2 months in advance, especially if you want a weekend or evening slot. Not only did she do that, she booked it with space to spare. Mom, Dad, my girlfriend Amy, my older brother, and my grandparents. One big outing. I was a bit nervous about them meeting Amy. It was their first time, but I figured it'd be fine. We got there around 5:30 on a Friday. I'm not gonna out the restaurant. I think they're closed now. But it was a nice downtown place, slightly elevated with outdoor terrace. They had 2 bars and these big booths for parties of up to 8. When we got there, they showed us inside, asked us to take off our shoes, and then sat us down at our table. First thing we did was go person to person and wash our hands at the table. The appetizer was meant to be eaten with your hands. That was the kind of vibe we were walking into. Just for contrast, I'm not into expensive stuff. The whole reason I got into dentistry at all was because I used to be anxious about tongues. I started reading about them just to kind of demystify them, and all of a sudden, it became an interest. Then I went from tongue to teeth. But food wise, I'm a ramen noodle kind of guy. I'm not really the whole washing my hands with eucalyptus water thing. We had a couple of drinks, some laughs, some appetizers. They had this shrimp thing that they served on dry ice that made the whole table look like a cloud. The chef was apparently a big thing. I think I've seen him on TV a couple of times. We'll just call him Chef Mike for reference. It'd be too easy to identify him if I gave you his real first name. We saw him a couple of times that day. A lot of people were running in and out of the kitchen, and if you listen closely, you could hear someone yelling on the other room. As the clock closed in on 6 p.m., a waiter put down a plate right next to me. No one else got a plate like that. It was kind of a zesty halibut with haricot and asparagus foam. When I looked up, I realized I'd been served by Chef Mike himself. For the birthday boy, he smiled. It's not my birthday, I smiled back. But thank you. Pardon my assumption. May I ask the occasion? The others at the table chimed in. My grandparents were talking about how inventive I was as a child. My mother straightened her back and started talking about my excellent oral health. Amy was clinging to my arm, a bit overwhelmed about the whole thing. She's not a fan of strangers. Chef Mike just smiled at me. Then you must have a refined palate, he said. Please, it's on the house. A clock chimed in the background. 6 p.m. on the dot. I took a bite. I'm not going to say the halibut was the best thing I've ever had. It wasn't. It was good, though. Buttery smooth with just enough texture to stick to your tongue. The foam did a lot of the heavy lifting. It's just a couple of bites, but I really enjoyed it. There really wasn't much more to it. We had a lovely dinner and dessert. Then, as we called it a night, Amy and I took our Uber back to our place. That's when I noticed something curious. Someone had sent me money. $80. Now, it's not a lot of money, but there was no name or note attached to it. I figured it was my parents wanting to give me a little extra to go out with Amy, but I wasn't sure. I chalked it up to miscommunication and sent out a "hey, thanks for the $80" in the family group chat. No one responded. I didn't really think about it. The next day, I was back slurping up a pack of ramen noodles while doing paperwork. To be a bit extra fancy, I added some fresh bell peppers. I was halfway through the article when I got a notification. $65. No name or note attached. Strange. Not just because I got money again, but that it was a different amount. I sent out another message to the family group chat, thinking my grandparents were the ones who sent it. Maybe they thought the first didn't go through. I could only speculate, but group chat stayed silent. Over the next few days, I noticed a couple of things. First of all, there were days when I didn't get any money at all. I did get a couple more deposits, though, but only on days where I had dinner at exactly 6 p.m. It was the only common denominator. Ramen with bell peppers, I know, twice a week, got me another $65. Fried chicken and rice got me 70. Add some curry sauce and have it again the next day, I got 73. The sums would differ, but I would only get something on the days where I ate exactly at 6 p.m. The thing is, it was fast and consistent. I could be sitting at home, chilling in front of the TV, and I'd get a notification, but only if I was having dinner at 6 p.m. This brought me to a couple of uncomfortable realizations. First off, the sums would differ depending on what I ate, meaning there was some kind of rating system. And second of all, maybe more importantly, someone could tell when I was eating. Someone was somehow observing me. This triggered all kinds of paranoid responses in me. I would stop eating out of spite. I would bring Amy over and ask her to check outside for someone watching me through the windows. I borrowed a strong magnet from a local magnet fisher to check and see if I got any bugs on me. All of it turned out nothing. I think the only thing I managed to do was convince Amy I was getting paranoid. She wasn't too happy about it, but I think it's just because she worries. She's a worrier. One day I decided to test it all further. I locked myself in the bathroom. I turned off the lights and hid behind the shower curtain. I had a microwave waffle with some vanilla ice cream in a bowl. I took little bites at exactly 6 p.m. and listened for the notification on my phone. My hands were a bit shaky. I was so focused listening for that sound that every creak and groan of the apartment building sent sparks into my chest. As soon as I finished the bowl, the phone beeped. $45. I couldn't even see my own hands, unless someone was using infrared or sonar. There was no way they could see or hear what the hell I was doing. Something wasn't adding up. I kept experimenting over the next few days. I tried to test the boundaries of what could counted as dinner. Soft foods like drinks and slushies and marmalade didn't count. Neither did snacks like chips or crackers. It had to be something substantial and traditional. I tried going the other way around. I got this really nice cut of beef from a local butcher. I asked Amy to help prepare it, seeing as she's a bit more of a cook than I am. She put some real love into that thing, using the sort of truffle glaze and serving it with roasted potatoes. I asked her to share it with me, but she insisted I had it on my own. She was invested into this experiment too. She'd seen the deposits. I sat down at the little table. I had a heated cloth napkin, a glass of red wine, and ate my candlelight. When I finished, I checked my phone. $1,200. This wasn't just a creepy experiment anymore. This was real money. Rent money. Amy freaked out when I showed her, dancing around the kitchen like she'd won the lottery. And tomorrow I'll make homemade cabada and chili, she said. If this is one steak gets us, what will a three-course meal do? Where is it coming from? I asked. Why are we getting it? Why don't you just ask? If there's someone watching, then clearly they're listening. She had a point. Amy had some last-minute business to deal with the next day, so I ended up making some hot dogs and mashed potatoes. Nothing fancy, just the powdered stuff right out of the box. But as I sat down, I had an idea. I took a bite and spoke into the empty room. If you can hear me, add 50 cents to the next deposit. I never gotten anything less than a full dollar, so yeah, that'd catch my attention. I tried watching a show as I ate, but I kept getting this pounding in my chest whenever I thought about being watched. What was the point of watching me eat? And why at 6 p.m.? I finished my meal and put the plate away. As I turned on the dishwasher, my phone chimed. $21.50. Someone was listening. Testing this further just made it stranger. I had some Indian takeout food on the bus, and I still got a deposit. They were still watching me when I was on the move, as long as I had a proper meal. I tried dragging dinner out for 2 hours. Still got a deposit, but much less than usual. I could be eating alone or with friends or at a restaurant. It didn't matter. Someone knew what I was doing, and they were grading it on a scale. I started asking questions. 50 cents for yes, 25 cents for no. I already knew they could hear me, so that was already settled. Can you see me? 50 cents. Yes. Do I know you? 25 cents. No. Do you want to hurt me? 25 cents. No. I was so fascinated, it started taking up a lot of time. I would make charts and weigh my options on what to ask. We quickly realized that it didn't work if Amy asked. It had to be me. But when I asked if it knew that Amy was there, I got a very clear yes. I started to notice a couple of patterns in the payments. Home-cooked meals regularly got bigger deposits. Also, eating alone. White wine was a big no-no, but red wine was a yes, especially if chilled. I was slowly mapping out another person's palate, and I have to admit, it was pretty amazing. A little more salt, another $5. A little less butter, that's another $3. All the while, I was asking questions. Whoever was watching me had a hard time answering what or who they were. We had to narrow it down to what they weren't. They were not a regular person, not a demon or a mythical creature, not an alien. I couldn't get a clear enough answer, but I managed to understand that they used to be a person. Not a ghost, though. They were clear about that. 25 cents clear. I came up with a system with multiple choice answers. I would write an answer in sheets with increments of 10 cents each. That's how I figured out where they came from. First day, I asked what continent they live on. I got 30 cents, correlating with my North American answer. The next day, it pointed me toward the United States. Makes sense, that's where I am. The third day, I asked them to write out the first letter of the state code. I got 19 cents, meaning S. The next day, I got 4 cents, meaning D. SD. South Dakota. Pretty far away. I tried to narrow down exactly where they were at, but after a while, they stopped answering. Turns out they didn't know for sure. It was east of the river. That's much I figured out. I got the impression whoever was communicating wasn't entirely sure either. Someday, the question I asked took long to respond to, and there'd be a delay before I got the deposit. All the while, I was ranking in some pretty good money. I was averaging $150 a day just from sticking to this dinner schedule. Amy didn't ask too many questions. We could really use the money if you wanted to get a bigger place. But I had to start asking some uncomfortable questions. I couldn't get over what kind of deal I was actually making. Why would someone go to such lengths just to have me follow a strict schedule? Ed, it was then, almost 2 months after the celebration dinner, I got a visitor. It was a regular Tuesday. I had started my new job a couple of weeks prior, so I was more tired than usual when I got home from work. All the tension of getting to know a new workplace just collapsed from my shoulders. Amy was working overtime, but she had prepared a recipe for me to make ensure we got the most out of our daily mystery deposit. But that's when I got a knock on the door. Now, I get visitors every now and then, my parents, friends, Amy's friends. But this was someone I hadn't seen at my door before. Looking through the peephole, I realized I was looking at none other than our local celebrity chef, Chef Mike. I opened the door, scratching my head. Hey, I said, dropping the TV persona. Remember me? Yeah, sure, I said. What are you doing here? Have you been getting the payments? You know about them? Yeah, he nodded. I get them sometimes too. I just gotta cook the right thing. I invited him in and we got to chatting. Chef Mike told me all about the setup. About once a week, he got a deposit if he served the halibut dish to someone. They didn't have to order it, he would pay for it. It just had to be prepared in a certain way and offer at a certain time and date. As Chef Mike explained it, he wandered around my kitchen, making sure not to touch the counter. It was kind of filthy. Amy doesn't really do dishes, and I'm not much for scrubbing. Chef Mike gave me a long look. I stopped getting payments after you came by. I think our benefactor has taken a liking to you. Benefactor? Is that what this is? Honestly, I don't know, he shrugged. But whatever it is, it kickstarted my career. I made some serious money with this arrangement. Just from cooking halibut? It's not just cooking a halibut, it's cooking to perfection. It's cooking over a process that has taken years to calibrate. No one else can do it. It's unique. He pointed a finger at me. I sat down. Chef Mike had come by to cook me dinner. He wasn't getting payments for halibut anymore, so he figured the benefactor had taken a liking to me. You want to try cooking for me to see if it paid off. It sounded almost threatening, like he wasn't asking. He wanted me to agree to him coming by 2 times per week, cooking things he knew would get us a lot of money. I wouldn't have to send him anything. He got deposits of his own. Somehow, our benefactor knew that not only was I having dinner at the exact time, but he also knew exactly who prepared it. And I mean, what could I say? I was getting paid to enjoy a gourmet meal 2 times a week. How can that be a bad thing? I wasn't being tricked here. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. No matter if he made penne or chicken frittata, I'd seen the whole thing. No tricks. So yeah, I agreed. Amy would have killed me if I didn't. She got all the leftovers she wanted. That, and she was a bit of a closeted Chef Mike fan. She followed his YouTube channel. Things changed rapidly after Chef Mike and I shook hands on the deal. He got all new kitchenware for me and had a firm come by to clean. He put in this new hood over the stove and put it in a wall-mounted spice rack. All custom jars, no labels necessary. On days when he came by, he would sometimes bring an assistant or a sous chef. He was taking it seriously. I can't count how many unnamed people came through my kitchen during those days. Some didn't even look like chefs, more like mercenaries. Deposits kicked up significantly. My max payout was somewhere around $3,200. It never dipped below $300. Still, having him around was nerve-wracking. He was an absolute shit temper, and he would blow up at Amy all the time. She would just be excited to have him there, and he would cuss her out for staring. It was heartbreaking watching her go from all excited to withdrawn. After a while, she would avoid coming out at all on days when he was there. All the while, I was still trying to understand our benefactor. I asked him to spell out his name, but all I got was N and O. Then, I decided I had to ask some big questions. Something that would take a long time to answer, but I had to know. Despite knowing what it might take weeks to get the full picture, I painstakingly made a schedule to ask a question I couldn't stop thinking about. How can you see me? It took 8 days to get a complete answer. Every day I checked the deposit and the corresponding number of cents. I put it up on one post-it a day until the answer was staring at me. 21, 18, 5, 25, 5. 19. Your eyes. Your eyes. I tried eating with my eyes closed, but it didn't seem to affect it at all. It confused me. Even if this thing could somehow experience things through my eyes, that didn't explain what it wanted me to eat. I started getting strange messages not related to the question I asked. Letters that wasn't a response to anything I asked. I could ask yes or no questions and get 4 cents. A D. Over the weeks that followed, I filled my fridge with all kinds of strange messages, all written in colorful post-its. Good taste, best tongue, more salt. Chef Mike shared that he was getting messages too, but he hadn't figured out how out they had a meeting yet. It was only when I pointed it out that he realized he had started getting cents. He hadn't gotten those before. He wrote all the shed cents he'd received in the number sequence and had it translated while he cooked. This one says, "Can't see," I said, pointing to a series of post-its. The other one says, "Can't touch." So he can't touch and can't see. And he lives in South Dakota. And he sees with other people's eyes. Chef Mike shuddered. He didn't like that. Amy was standing quiet in the corner, keeping her head down. He says I have a good tongue. The best, I added. What do you think that means? Well, Chef Mike sighed. Over the years I've worked with him, he made me perfect with that one halibut dish of sort of calibration. Maybe he was looking for someone to enjoy it the right way. But how does he know I do that? He shrugged. See through your eyes, taste through your tongue. Why specifically 6 p.m.? Why was that so important? The answer I got was so simple it was frustrating. Dinner. I asked what happened before that, and why it couldn't be 5 p.m. Gym. The benefactor had a schedule. Work, gym, dinner, woman, sleep. I got the impression of someone living vicariously through others. Maybe literally. How else can you explain someone knowing when I'm eating strawberries and cream in the dark and not just flushing them down the toilet? I shared my findings with Amy. All post-its, the talks with Chef Mike, the experiments, the questions. I showed her my conclusions and suspicions, drawing it out on my iPad like I was mapping a conspiracy theory. Red lines from one circle to another, dates, answers. I had it printed out pages of deposits and highlighted every cents. Just in case, I'd check if the full dollar amount was anything too. It wasn't. And that reading, it was getting more intricate. The benefactor had a very particular palate. It enjoyed beef the most. Well done, surprisingly. Grill was a no-go, but it enjoyed the barbecue in various glazes. There was a little upshoot whenever I had a pleasant appetizer, and even more if I finished with the dessert. Chef Mike managed to break the record with a 4,100 deposit after serving me a 4-course meal. But man, it was awkward, just sitting there savoring it while Amy watched from the other side of the room. I could tell she was having second thoughts about the entire thing. I couldn't blame her. But we were talking about big, big money by now. This was daily income with the potential of thousands. Finally, at one point, she just flat out asked me about all of it. We were driving home from the grocery store and she had me pull over. It was almost dinner time. We had gotten stuck in traffic. I was a bit stressed, but did as she asked. She put her hand on my shoulder. I think we should stop, she said. We've got so much from this. There's gotta be a problem with it. I don't feel comfortable doing this. It's a lot of money, I agreed, but can we afford to stop? She nodded. We got a lot, I know. And we can put that to good use, but when's enough? Didn't you just want to be a dental technician? I am a dental technician, I insisted. You spend more time on your charts and recipes, she said. That's all your time. It's income in the thousands, Amy. Thousands. And what do they get from that that's worth that kind of money? I didn't have an answer. My tongue felt dry. The clock was almost 6 p.m. I leaned back and smacked my seat. Amy recoiled a little. I reached out to apologize. We were okay. It was just a lot. I mean, yeah, she was right. I was being paid for something I didn't understand, and it was a lot of money. If I can't understand it, how can I consent to it? I decided to swallow my pride and agree with her. So that day I skipped dinner, and for the next week, I kept that up. It was a bit strange stepping away from the strict schedule. Chef Mike wasn't happy about it. He went back to making the halibut dish, looking for someone new to appease the benefactor. I would get these occasional messages like, no one yet, and you still out? The message that struck me the most was just, do you know how lucky you are? I stopped responding after a while. Amy was doing a lot better. We started eating together again. We could be a bit more spontaneous. It was a load off my shoulders, but I would still catch myself wondering at times, whenever 6 p.m. rolled around. Was something looking through my eyes? Was it tasting my tongue? Had it moved on? There were no more deposits. It sucked not to have that income, but it was a strange thing to rely on in the beginning. And I won't lie, it was convenient as hell, but there's something uncomfortable to it. I can't put my finger on it, but after 2 weeks of stepping away from the deal, something changed. I lost my job. I'm not saying I was the perfect employee, but I was doing a lot better now that I didn't have any distractions. It came out of nowhere. There were no mass layoffs or anything. It was just me. And the same day, some nameless security goon is carrying my stuff out of the car. I got a text from Amy. She lost her job too. All of a sudden, that income was looking like a lifesaver. But I couldn't help to think, what if that's the point? What if this was orchestrated? How far could this benefactor reach? That night, Amy went to see her sister. The two of them are really close, and she needed some alone time. Meanwhile, I made some spaghetti and meatballs and sat down to eat at exactly 6 p.m. I remember sitting there at the kitchen table, eating in silence, looking at my iPad across the table. I'd written a question. Did you get us fired? 50 cents, yes. 25 cents, no. Every bite felt wrong. Like someone was watching me from inside my mouth. Like there was someone else sitting at the same space as my body, savoring me like a goddamn juice box. It felt like I was putting on a show, making myself into a canvas to be painted on. But I finished the meal. There was a deposit later that night. $480.50. That's a yes. It got us fired. I didn't tell Amy about it. She thought we'd gotten away from the whole ordeal and now it was threatening to pull us back in. I wanted to give her some peace of mind, so I decided I was going to do something about it. I had a plan to get this benefactor out of our lives once and for all. One evening, while she was out, I sat down at 6 p.m. with a new plan. I was going to make the benefactor turn away from me forever, and I could only see one way of doing that. I had to line up a plate with orange juice, toothpaste, diced onions, and mayonnaise. That and a spoon. I prepared an empty bucket next to me. My heart was making bat flicks as the clock crossed over to 6 p.m. When it did, I dug in and ate until I couldn't eat anymore. I ate, and then I got violently ill. There were no deposits that night. For a few days, it seemed to work. I could eat at 6 p.m. without getting a deposit. It actually lightened my mood a lot. I didn't feel watched anymore. I think Amy noticed too. She seemed a bit more at ease. Dinner time had become this unspoken stigma between us, but we started to look past it. We could joke about it, plan a little outing. We might even have dinner at 6 p.m. We moved back into a better routine. I took down the post-its from the fridge. I deleted the document with all my findings. I'll admit, I wasn't sure about that one. There's no harm in keeping a file on your computer. But then again, if I wanted to fully commit, I couldn't keep that stuff around. After much deliberation, I cleared it out. Things were looking up. I got my job interview. Amy and I were looking at bigger apartments, hoping to find something within our price range. Not for now, but for when we both got back on our feet. But things don't always turn out like you want. It was the middle of the afternoon, and I spent my day talking to some old classmates. I was waiting for a response from a recruiter who'd shown some interest. I got out of my car around 4 p.m., bringing some groceries along. The front door was open, so I figured Amy was at home. I did what I always did. I spoke out loud about my day. Mark got a new job, I said. Sounds like it wasn't just me that's been laid off. No response. I got some turkey breast. I figured we could make some. I looked down at my grocery bag. Turns out someone had switched it. This isn't what I bought, but for that to happen, they must have been in my car while I checked my phone. Looking up, there was a man in my living room. He was about 6'3", slim shoulders, thick horn-rimmed glasses, buzz cut, gray dress coat, simple blue jeans. Something in my blood froze when I saw him. I think I've seen him at Chef Mike's place. It was like coming face to face with a lion. All kinds of strange details just burned into my head. The way he laced his shoes, the silver ring on his left index finger, the slight hint of a scar on his neck. A tinted blue sunflower commercial rolling in the background. We just stared at each other for a second. I counted my breaths, trying to keep my brain from spiraling. I was making 100 plans at once, and they were all incomplete. Run, scream, shout, talk. Why weren't I talking? Do something. He burst into a sprint. I dropped my groceries out 5 steps before he caught my neck and pushed me down. I felt something cold, metallic, and heavy push against the back of my skull. Not a word, he said. Not a single goddamn word. The world turns black with a blindfold. I tried to listen for details, count my steps. There were more people. They were trying to sort me. They put a hood over my head, spun me around, pushed me to the ground a couple of times. I couldn't figure out where the direction we were going. They threw me into a car, a big one by the sound of it. No one was talking, but I figured there were at least 3 people. 2 up front, 1 in the back. The car ride was over 40 minutes, but we took a lot of turns. We might have been going in circles for a while. Once we came to a stop, they pulled me out and kept driving. I never even saw the car. Still, not a word from either of them. I was pulled inside a building and escorted down some stairs. A cellar. I was pushed to a cheap chair that scraped against uneven stone floor. There was a voice. Time. 4:48. Clear out. People left the room. Another chair squeaked as someone sat down across from me. They leaned in, making sure the chains on my hands were secured to the table. Let me tell you about my job. The silence was unbearable. I could barely hear him over my own breathing. I've had a job for 6 years. Best job I've ever had. Before this, I was ready to bite a bullet. I had no purpose, no income, nothing. He tapped something against my head. Then, one day, a man walks past me. And I look at him a little longer than I normally do. He looks weird. He has a feel to him. And all of a sudden, I get $20. Just like that. So you know what I do? He leans in. I look a little closer. I follow him a little longer. Another $20. And you know what I find? This guy's a freak. He does some things that grown men aren't supposed to do. Things that hurt people. Good people. He leans back. Something metallic lands on the table. So, instead of turning my gun on myself, I turned it on him. And I shit you not, 10 minutes later, I'm looking at a 5-figure payout out of goddamn nowhere. He taps a heavy object with his fingertips, spins it a little. Now I got a job. A very serious job. And I've learned to listen very, very well and don't ask questions. We sat there for a full hour. He had a wall clock that made this needlessly loud ticking noise so I wouldn't forget the seconds. I tried to calm my nerves and settle my breathing, but he would do something constantly to keep me on edge. I lost track of time completely after a while, and he was more than patient. Someone knocked on the door upstairs. A heavy door, metal, reinforced. The man got up from his chair. That's your cue, he said. It's showtime. I instantly recognized the voice as the door creaked open. Amy. They drug her down in chains, kicking and screaming. She yells my name, not that I'm able to do anything. It's like reaching for a teddy bear. She is screaming to get the fear out, and it aches in me not to be able to do anything. The man has a gun. Something small clinks to the table in front of me when he pulls off the blindfold. I'm sitting in a dark basement. There are 8 men in the room, all armed with submachine guns. They've chained Amy to the wall. They got her purse tangled up, so they cut the strap off with a Bowie knife. They're all masked. Black masks, carbon fiber with felt over the eyes. They have different skin tones and builds, no visible tattoos. There's 6 plates in front of me. A bacon and water chestnut appetizer, Caesar salad with mild cheese, lightly fried halibut with hollandaise sauce and collard greens, rice balls with spicy mayonnaise served with steak tenderloin, a turkey burger slider, and a small cup of chocolate lava cake for dessert. 3 perfectly placed glasses of red wine, water, and white wine. Amy is screaming herself to death. I can hear her voice breaking. I realize one of the men are behind me and he's holding something. I hear a leather strap just inches from the back of my head. He's pointing something at me. Once the clock turns to 6 p.m., one of the men nod at me. Bon appetit. I take my time with the dishes. I don't want to give them an excuse to shoot me in the back of the head. It all tastes like salt anyways. I must have bitten my tongue when they attacked me. The wine burns and my eyes water. A little blood drizzles up from the corner of my lips. Amy's a mess. She's on her knees, repeating please over and over like a mantra. She's terrified of strangers, and the claustrophobia isn't helping. No one is budging. They're not even looking at her. I take bite after bite, knowing full well that I'm being looked at from the inside out. He can taste the salt on my tongue. He can feel the pieces sliding down my gullet. He can feel my nervous stomach rumbling as I force myself to chew. How can you want this? One of the men checks his watch. Send the chef home. Have our guests finish in 10 minutes or I'll kill the girl. Make it a challenge. The man stands behind me, huffs, grabs my head, and smashes it into the table. The table cracks a little. Cheap plastic, probably stolen from a yard. He doesn't have a gun. He has some kind of pop rivet. He's not killing me. He's going to hurt me. Bad. It takes me a moment to register the pain. He pulls out my tongue and pierces it with the rivet. Start the clock. I can't feel my tongue. My eyes water. I try without chewing, but the salts feel like sticking to my mouth like a wall socket. I bite, chew, swallow. Bite, chew, swallow. I'm a machine. I'm doing this. Pain doesn't kill you, but by God, it's the worst I've ever felt. It's supposed to be good. It smells nice, but it sticks to my stomach lining like sore cold. They're going to kill her. I can see the gun. They're going to kill her. I finish with a couple of minutes to spare. I almost choke on the white line. I knocked over a couple of plates. It looked like someone fed it all to a starving dog. Had barbecue glaze on my fingers. Hands are faster than forks. Looks good, one of them said. Hope you enjoyed your meal. Another one leaned in from behind, tapping me on the shoulder with an automatic weapon. What time are you having dinner tomorrow? He asked. It wasn't really a question. It would never be a question again. 6 p.m. I got $25. No cents. I still have my dinner at 6 p.m. to this day. I'd like to say Amy and I found some kind of normalcy in all of this, but she turns pale every time I walk away to eat. We don't talk about it. We talk about everything but that. I started getting deposits again. Not as big as I used to, but still significant. I've noticed I get a bit more if Amy's in the room watching in silence. I've tried thinking about it in other ways. Like, I'm not a captive in my own body, but maybe an influencer to the audience of one. A curator. A reviewer. Maybe there's some magical thing I can do that will grant me some kind of lenience. But I don't know. But for now, I don't have any options. Every day, I step away from whatever I'm doing, and I have dinner. And I have it exactly at 6 p.m. Ian.
Oh my god. I'm not gonna lie, I was enjoying it at first, and I was like, I'm gonna go grab a snack. And I'm eating my snack, and I'm listening. And then the torture starts, and I just gotta put my snack up. And I'm like, oh, wow.
That's a little different than what I normally do.
It was good. I liked it, but it was, oh,
Yep.
like the actual horror of like someone experiencing something through your body
Mm-hmm.
and then taking away your choice of whether or not you even do it at all. Like, he's whoever the benefactor is, petty,
I know, right?
petty.
I like
Oh
how it's
my
like,
god.
what's your name? He goes, no. It's like, what?
My name is No.
No. Yeah, it's a little normal, a little longer than I normally do, but it was really good. So
It was really good. I did like it.
I really enjoy his work. That's Saturday. He actually has like a whole like archive of stories
Yeah.
he's done. He's done a lot of like ones with different parts and everything. But yeah,
Hmm.
he's very talented.
Really,
He's one of
really
my
good.
favorites.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even know how I'm gonna follow that up.
That's pretty crazy.
All
But
right.
like, yeah.
This one I have for you. It's from I don't know if we've done this author before, but it's I signed up for a startup trial that let me play games in my dreams. I don't think I can sleep again now. It's by Vishwesh Shetty on the No Sleep Reddit.
I'm ready. This is
Yeah.
right up my alley.
All
Not being able
right.
to sleep in video games. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. You'd think.
Oh no. All right, I'm ready.
All right. You think VR headsets are the closest thing to real life simulations. The technology has become terrifyingly real, but there's always a safety net. You know you're wearing a headset. You get shot, stabbed, torn apart, but you know you aren't dying. It's a virtual reality, a game. Your brain is conscious enough to know things aren't real, but do you know where things feel truly real? It's when your brain is asleep and your subconscious mind is playing tricks on you. In your dreams, the one place where you don't know if it's real or not. Where getting shot makes you believe you are dying. That's what the startup built its product on. That they put you to sleep and implant a temporary neural node that feeds scripted experiences directly into your dreams. No screens, no headsets, just your subconscious living the experience. I signed up for the trial. I loved playing games, and they paid pretty well, $100 an hour. Everything was in cash, unofficial. It was supposed to be a 7-day trial. On the first day, we tried a first person shooter script. A veteran hero gets called for an undercover operation. Imagine playing as Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. On the second day, we tried a racing game script. Kind of like The Rise of an Underdog, it was mid. After a race simulation where we basically sleep, we immediately shared feedback as we woke up. If you don't recollect dream memories quickly, you can easily forget them. The third day was a horror simulation, but something went wrong. All of us woke up with very little memory. They sent us back home and told us the trial was canceled for now. We were paid, and the implant was removed. A lot of us, including me, felt mild headaches immediately after the session. Something had surely gone wrong. That night was the first time I slept without the implant inside my head. My sleep was uneasy. I woke up thirsty and walked to the kitchen, half asleep. The house was silent, and as I turned back toward the living room, I saw 4 people sitting on my couch. They were holding up their phones, their screens glowing white, as if trying to shine light at me. I froze. My heart tried to escape my chest. Then, blink. The couch was empty. No people, no lights, nothing. I thought I was hallucinating. I turned away. Something moved in the corner of my eye. I looked back. Someone was sitting on the chair in the right corner. I frantically searched for a switch, but there was none. I couldn't recall where the switches were. Then it clicked. This couldn't be happening. I had to be dreaming. As soon as I realized that, I was back on my bed, but I couldn't get up. I'd had sleep paralysis before, but this was the worst. I tried hard to move my body, so hard that I fell off the bed, smashing my head into the floor. It hurt a lot more than a 2-foot drop should. I could feel blood on my face. It was pouring, as if it had ruptured some thick artery. I panicked and rushed toward the drawer to look for first aid. It was supposed to be there, that's where I keep it, but it wasn't. I didn't need some cloth to press against the bleeding. I tried to remove my t-shirt, but it got stuck around my shoulder. It felt like I was wearing a t-shirt 2 sizes too small and trying to take it off. The more it stuck, the stronger the urge to take it off. Somehow, a pair of scissors appeared in my hand. I used them to cut through my t-shirt and could breathe again, but then I felt the scissors tearing across my face. I was cutting myself along with the t-shirt. None of this felt real. I realized I was still stuck in my nightmare. I paused and tried to clear my head. I forced myself to think of happier moments, like the time I went hiking and watched the sunrise from the hill. It helped. I could breathe again, but it was short-lived. The sunset shattered like pixels, and so did my surroundings. The land beneath me disappeared. I was falling, falling fast. I reached out, but there was nothing to hold on to. My chest tightened, and it felt like my heart had given out, leaving me gasping in panic. A second later, I struck something hard. It felt as if every bone in my body had cracked, and a massive flash exploded in my eyes. It was too bright for several seconds. Then I could see again. I was standing near the kitchen. 4 people were sitting there again, their phone screens flashing white toward me. One of them finally stood up and punched me straight in the chest. I woke up in a hospital bed. I was told I had been in a coma for a week. I had almost died and was brought back after using a defibrillator. There were no signs of the startup. They had packed up and left without leaving any trace. Sometimes I think this was the third session script all along, making us believe the trials were over and the nightmare was real. A brilliant script. But if it wasn't, I don't think I can ever go to sleep again. The end.
Not the coma.
Uh-huh.
Not
Not
the
the
coma.
coma.
Ugh.
Kids punched
Good
right
lord.
in the chest.
Yeah. Sit up and just sucker punch you right in the chest.
You know what a way to wake up.
Yeah, hell of a nightmare.
Sometimes that's just how you have to do it, though.
Yeah, sleep paralysis, man. Crazy.
Oh my goodness.
All
All
right.
right.
Well, I think
Okay.
my story put us up a little bit, so I think we should probably end it there.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yep. We will
All
be
right.
back next week with more. We try to put out one every Thursday, so we'll see
Yeah.
you here. Thursday, Friday. I guess it is technically like four
hmm
o'clock in the morning right now.
And as always, you can find us on Spotify, Hexamoon Scary Stories, or YouTube. And if you want, you can try your hand at sending in your own story.
Absolutely. All right. I will see you in the next one then.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.